Corinne. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and appreciate your time. A little bit about myself. As Corinne mentioned, I'm Renu Muthu, and I am an instructional designer with ASCENT. I develop and write the training guides for Autodesk visualization software, like the Autodesk 3ds Max Design and the Autodesk Showcase. I also work with other Autodesk products such as AutoCAD 3D, AutoCAD Electrical Mechanical, and update those training guides as well. So today's focus is on Autodesk 3ds Max Design and can also be used with the basic version, which is the Autodesk 3ds Max. The format for today's presentation is that first I will be explaining the topic with the help of the PowerPoint presentation, as you can see on the screen, and then subsequently follow it up with actual demonstration in the Autodesk 3ds Max Design 2014 software. Now, today's topic that I'll be presenting is how to create multi-sub-object materials in 3ds Max Design and how to apply the sub-materials to different polygons and faces of a single object. Now, I will be demonstrating this topic using the Chapter 6, that is the Materials chapter of the Autodesk 3ds Max Design 2014 Fundamentals Training Guide. And this is an AOTG training guide and is developed by ASCENT. Now, in this chapter, which is the Materials chapter, Chapter 6 of the training guide, you'll learn about materials and maps and how they can be used in the visualization process. The multi-sub-object materials topic that I'm going to be presenting today now is part of the standards materials section that is here in the chapter. Now, before we get into the topic of multi-sub-object materials, let's have a quick overview about the role of materials. Now, all of us know that materials are extremely important in the visualization process. So to create believable visualizations, we need to use materials and maps to dress up the geometry so that it resembles objects in the real world. So now, how do we manage materials in the software? In the 3ds Max or 3ds Max Design, there are two editors for managing materials, the Compact Material Editor and the Slate Material Editor. Both of those can be accessed from the main toolbar. Now, here on the screen, this is part of the main toolbar, and this is the icon for the Manage Materials. So when you click on this one and a flyout, click and hold, the flyout will open up with an icon for the Compact Material Editor and another icon for the Slate Material Editor. So you can click on whichever one you want to use. You can also access both the material editors from the rendering menu bar, like here in the rendering menu bar. When you open it up, click on the Material Editor, and then you have the Compact Material Editor and the Slate Material Editor. You can choose whichever you want. You can access both of those materials also through the keyboard shortcut, which is M, but in this case, the previously used Material Editor opens up. For today's demonstration, I will be using the Slate Material Editor to create and assign the multi-sub-object materials. Once you open the Slate Material Editor, on the left side, you see the Material Map browser. Now, there is a list of materials that is provided along with the software, and these materials can be used as a base or a template for creating your own materials. Now, in the materials standard category, you have the multi-sub-object material right here, and we will be using this today to create our own multi-sub-object material by customizing this base material. Now, what are multi-sub-object materials? Multi-sub-object materials contain multiple sub-materials that are packaged in a single parent material. These submaterials can then be applied to individual faces or polygons or elements of a single geometry. The key use of multi-sub-object materials is basically organization. So when working on a complex geometry and large-scale projects like architectural buildings, and also when multiple people are working on a single project, it becomes vital to organize the materials used. Here, multi-sub-objects materials, they come in handy. For example, in a big architectural project, you have a multi-sub-object material for floors, where the sub-materials are like tiled floor, hardwood floor, carpet, concrete, etc., etc. Or you can also organize the floor multi-sub-object materials as bathroom floor, kitchen floor, living area, so on and so forth. So this way, when you send the file to another person to work on it, he or she can easily identify the materials used. Now, in the slide here, you can see that this is the slate material editor which I've opened up, and I have the this is the main multi-sub-object material. 10 sub-materials are stacked inside of it. And these sub-materials are needed to be created first and have to be linked to each one of them, each one of the sub-material ID in here. The number of sub-materials can also be defined by you. So you can do that by clicking on this set number in the parameters editor. And first, how we can get the parameters editor is by double-clicking on the title bar of the multi-sub-object material. So that opens up the parameters editor of that material. Then click on the set number button right here, and the set number of materials dialog box opens up. Here in the number of materials, you can enter the number of materials you want to use in that particular multi-sub-object material. And then creating, for example, you created 4 sub-materials inside of it, 4 material IDs. You need to create 4 sub-materials and then link them to each one of them. All the sub-materials that are present inside the main multi-sub-object material can be applied to individual faces or polygons or elements of a single object. This means that sub-materials can be assigned at a sub-object level of your geometry. To get to the sub-object level of the geometry, you use either the edit mesh or the edit poly modifier. For here, we have used the edit mesh modifier right here. Once you are in the sub-object level of your geometry, first specify the part you wish to apply that sub-material to. And for example, here we have selected the polygon sub-object level. And then after selecting the sub-object level in the command panel, you go into the viewport, and in the viewport geometry, select the polygon you want to apply the material to. Then in the command panel again, in the material section right here, you set the ID number with the ID number of the material you want to apply to that selected polygon on the viewport. Now, these are the objectives that we will be accomplishing after I demonstrate in the software. This is a practice that I have pulled directly from Chapter 6 of our training guide. The practice is performed by the students in an instructor-led class to reinforce the skills that are being taught in the content. Or if you're a self-paced learner, you can use it for similar purpose, that is for practicing the preceding skills learned. Now, this section provides instruction to enable you to do the following. That's create a multi-sub-object material having sub-materials on different material IDs and assign different materials to specific faces of a single object using material ID numbers. These are the steps that we need to follow to create a multi-sub-object material. Now, first of all, we have to open the multi-sub-object material that is in the material map browser. In the material standard category, we have the multi-sub-object material, which we can use as the base material. Then it's always recommended to rename the material so that it logically specifies what the material is being used for. Then we set the number of materials or sub-materials by clicking this set number in the parameters editor, and then create sub-materials and link them to the material ID numbers right here. So let's create a multi-sub-object material in the software now. So here you can see on the screen the 3ds Max Design 2014 software, which I have opened up for you. And I have a partially created architectural building. Now, we will be creating, first of all, creating the multi-sub-object material right here, and then applying the different sub-materials inside of that multi-sub-object material to this wall, different faces and polygons of this wall. Now, if I select this wall, like here, I select it, and you can see the white bounding box. The white bounding box is around the complete wall, which means that this wall is a single element or a single piece of geometry. And we will be assigning the sub-materials to different faces or different polygons of this wall. Now let's start by creating the multi-sub-object material. Here in the main toolbar, as I said before, is the material editor icon. I click and hold on the icon to open up the flyout. Now here in the flyout is the compact material editor and the slate material editor right here. So I will be using the slate material editor for today's demonstration. So here the slate material editor has been opened up. Now, as you can see, on the left-hand side is the material map browser, and there is a list of materials present there. We can use any of the materials as a base to create our own material from that. Now, today we have to use the sub-object material. So in the materials standard category is the multi-sub-object material right here. So I will double-click on it, and it opens its node in this View 1 sheet right here. And it is just a blank multi-sub-object material, which I will customize to create our own multi-sub-object material. So first of all, we have to rename this multi-sub-object material. We can do that by either right-clicking here and then selecting this rename from that right-click menu, or you can just double-click on the header of this multi-sub-object material like so, and this opens up its parameter editor right here. Now, this can be also, you will also be noticing that there is this white dashed boundary going around this multi-sub-object material. This indicates that its parameters editor has been opened up, and you are working in that one. So here, I will change its name to multi, or maybe just wall, because we have to apply it to the wall, and just hit enter so that the wall becomes the name of the wall multi-sub-object material. Now, we will be setting the number of IDs that we will be using in this wall multi-sub-object material. So click on the set number right here to open up the set number of materials dialog box. And for today's demonstration, I will be using 3 sub-materials inside of our wall multi-sub-object material. So I will enter 3 here and say OK. So as you can see, now I have only 3 slots for the 3 materials, material IDs in the wall multi-sub-object material. Now I have to start with creating a sub-material so that I can link it with ID number 1, and then create other 2 sub-materials to link them to ID number 2 and ID number 3. So today I'll be using a mental ray material, and from there I can be using this, I'll be using the ASCENT'S material as the base material to create my own sub-material. So double click on it and it opens up in my view sheet again. Now it overlaps over the view, the other multi-sub object material, and I cannot see what is behind it. So what I can do is this view sheet acts like any other window, and using my middle mouse button, I can just click and roll my middle mouse button. This will zoom in or zoom out the window. Also, I can just click and hold the middle mouse button and move it around, and this will pan the window. Similarly, I'll hold on to this header and just move it around so that it does not overlap the wall multi-sub object material. So the first material that I have opened up is a base ASCENT'S material. Now I will modify this ASCENT'S material and create a sub-material for material ID 1. So again, double click on this, the header of this material, the new material that I opened up, the ASCENT'S material, and to open its parameter editor. So again, notice that a white dashed boundary goes around this sub-material. So this means that its parameters editor has been opened up. So the first material, I will name it as brown. In enter. So a brown material has been created. I will use the same, the default parameters for it, but only change the color to brown. So when I click on this color here, the color selector dialog box opens up right here, and I can go in and choose a nice brown color like so. So it's kind of orangish brown, but will work for us today. So say OK. And a submaterial, an ASCENT'S brown submaterial has been created. Now, but it is not linked in any way to this wall multi-sub object material. So we need to link it. So the output socket, hold on to the output socket, and then it turns green, and then a red wire comes out, and you can link it to maybe material ID number 1 right here. So when an input socket of the multi-sub object turns green, that means it's being linked to that one. I can just go on here, it will turn green, or here, but I will leave it at 1, and so it has been linked to material ID number 1. Now I need to create 2 more submaterials to link them to number 2 and then number 3 also. So first of all, I want to create another ASCENT'S material, submaterial for number 2 here, and I will use the same parameters as we used in the brown color here. So for doing that, we can easily do that by just double-clicking on the wall multi-sub object material to open the wall multi-sub object parameters editor. So right here, you can see the wall multi-sub object material parameter editor. And now I want to create a brown, another material with the name blue, but a similar material like ASCENT'S. So what I can do is I can just copy this, click hold, and drag it over this none button here for 2. It just opens up an instance dialog box. So it has options like instance. So what instance does is that the new material that has been created, that will be created, if I make any changes to that new material, they will be reflected on the old material as well from where it was copied. So, but in this case, we don't want to do that. We want to create a separate material which has the similar parameters as the brown one, but is separate from that original material. So I will use this copy instead of instance and say OK. So as you can see, it automatically links the new material to number 2 because I just dragged and dropped it over the None button here in the parameters editor. So now this is a copy of the original brown material. So I will just modify this one to make it look blue, and I can do that by either going in the view sheet and then double clicking on this header, the brown header, copy of the brown header, or I can just click here on the None button where I have placed the new material, and it opens its parameter editor. And again, notice a white boundary right here. So I'll change the name to blue, enter, and then on the color selector, click here, and then choose a nice blue, like so, and maybe go a little lighter than that, and then say OK. So my second material has been created and has been automatically linked to number 2. Now I need another material to be, which I will link to number 3, material ID number 3 here, and for that maybe we can use a standard material. Also for that, this standard material. So, or also we can either select it here and then link it to number 3, or we can just double click on wall multi-sub object material here to open its parameter editor and click on this None. So what it does is it opens up the material map browser inside of this material ID number 3. So here I will be selecting this standard like so and say OK. So a standard material, a blank base standard material has been created and is automatically linked to this number 3 here. So for this material, I will open up its parameter editor by clicking here, and it opens up the parameter editor. I will name it as pink. And in the ambient channel, open it up and apply a pink material, and like so, and say OK. And so my third material has been assigned, pink material, which is a standard material in this case, has been assigned to apply to the material ID 3 now here. So again, I am just panning this window here, and also at the same time, I'm zooming out to see all the 3 materials. Now they are also overlapping each other, and when there are more than 3 materials, a bunch of materials, it's very hard to see all the materials in here. So to make them separate and not overlap each other, go in here in the toolbar of the Slate Material Editor. There is this layout all horizontal. Click on it and it separates them out like so. And then you can zoom in and see which material has been applied, is assigned to which or linked to which material ID. Also, you will notice that the main wall multi-sub object material, the icon for it is a patchwork of all the 3 different materials that are inside of it. So whenever you see a patchwork in the icon, you automatically know that it is a multi-sub object material. And now also, if you cannot see all the materials that are linked to those 3, so in that case, what you can do is open up the parameter editor of the wall multi-sub object material by double-clicking on the header, and here you automatically see all the 3 materials that have been created for the 3 different IDs of this wall multi-sub object material. So now we have successfully created a wall multi-sub object material which has 3 material IDs, and 3 different materials have been linked to the 3 material IDs here. Now let's go back into our presentation. So now these are the steps that we will be using to assign the submaterials to different faces and polygons of the wall or the main geometry. So we have to first select the geometry and assign the multi-sub object material by using this Assign Material to Selection icon. Then apply Edit Mesh or Edit Poly modifier. Here we have applied the Edit Mesh modifier. Then select a polygon face element in the modifier stack at the sub-object level. in the modifier stack right here, we have selected polygon here. And then in the viewport, we go and select that polygon or the face or the element, whichever we chose in the modifier stack to assign the multi-sub object material to. And then in the command panel, right here in the material section, we have to set the set ID as the material ID number. So let's go back into the software and assign the materials to the wall. So back in the software, 3ds Max Design software, I will move this slate material editor to the side so that I can see the viewport clearly. So right here, and now I want to first of all select the wall to which I am going to apply the multi-sub object material to. So select it, and it is a white bounding box encloses it, showing that this wall has been selected. Then I go into the modifier panel, modify right here, and you will see that I have applied the edit mesh modifier to this wall right here. Now in the modifier stack, first of all, I have to go into the sub-object level, and before going into the sub-object level, let us first assign the wall multi-sub object material to the selected wall. So here is the assign material to selection. Click on it, and now you will notice in the viewport that it randomly applies all the 3 different materials inside of the wall multi-sub object material to the different parts of the wall. Now I will orbit it, and you can see here a brown color has been assigned here and the pink has been assigned here. So it randomly does that. So now we want to assign the first, that is the first material ID, that's the brown material, onto all the polygons of the wall. Because the majority of the polygons, majority of the wall faces of the wall have to be brown in this case. So we'll go into the sub-object level of polygon, and then select just one polygon first, and then on your keyboard, say Control and A. It selects all the polygons that are inside of this the geometry that you have selected. And in this case, it is the wall geometry that we have selected. And then we go down here in the command panel. Down at the bottom is the material section right here, material area, and in the set ID we can just put in 1 and then say hit enter on the keyboard, and what it does is it applies the brown material to all the selected polygons in of the main selected geometry. So if I click somewhere on the blank space in the viewport, you will now notice that all the polygons of the wall have been assigned the brown color, number 1. Now let's go in and assign the blue material, this blue sub-material to this boardroom number 1. So as we are still in the sub-object level of polygon, we go in here and select one of the polygons, then holding down the control button on your keyboard for multiple selection, select the other polygons, inside polygons of the boardroom 1 wall, like so. And this one right here, this one right here, and there's one more wall that's pending, and this one right here. And then we need not go back into the slate material editor or anything, but this in the command panel, the material section will just apply or enter 2 here. So say set ID as 2, so hit enter, and then if you click outside somewhere, you will notice that the material ID 2 has the blue material assigned to it, and that is what goes and has been assigned to this boardroom number 1. Now similarly, this boardroom number 2 right here, we will apply the pink material, which we created, the standard material, to all the inside polygons. And again, we are in the sub-object level mode, and we have the polygon highlighted here. Select all those polygons right so, and holding down the control key on your keyboard for multi-selection, and this polygon right here, this internal wall right here. And then in the material, set material ID, just hit 3 and then say enter. Now, if we click outside, you will see that pink has been assigned. This pink looks a little different because the lights are not there still and it's not being rendered, but that is the pink material that has been assigned to this internal wall. Now, for example, I want to assign another material and create. I decided to create an accent wall with a red color to one of the walls of the main wall. So what we can do is just click on Add right here in the parameter editor. Make sure that you're in the wall multi-sub-object parameter editor first of all, and then say Add right here. So a standard material, blank material is applied, and a number 4 material editor has been added to it. Now we will just open up this parameter editor for this material by clicking here and name it as red accent. And then on the ambient, click on this ambient to open the color selector, and then choose a nice red color right here and say OK. So we have successfully right now added another sub-material on material ID number 4. So we go back into our viewport, and we are still in the sub-object level of the edit mesh, and maybe select this front wall right here, and zoom in a little bit so that you can see carefully, and just move my slate material editor right here, and then I set the ID as 4, and then hit enter, and then click somewhere on the empty space. Now you will notice that this polygon has been assigned the color or the material red. So similarly, using a multi-sub-object material, it is really easy to even change the materials, and then you need not go back and reapply the materials because it automatically makes those changes in the viewport as well. Once you change the material ID, something in the materials, and the materials, the changes reflect in the viewport as well. So similarly, for example, I want to go back into my wall multi-sub-object material parameter editor, and now I have decided, suppose, to exchange the colors or exchange the materials of the 2 boardrooms. So now I want the bigger boardroom to have the pink color and the smaller boardroom to have the blue color to it. So all I do is take this blue in the slate material editor, click and hold it, and drop it over this pink one right here. It opens the instance dialog box, and now we will use this swap button here, right here, and say OK. Before I hit OK, I want you to pay attention to the 2 different walls, and you will notice as soon as I say OK how they will swap the 2 colors. So I go OK, and you will now notice that the bigger boardroom number 1 has pink, and the boardroom number 2 has the blue material assigned to it. So this is, we have successfully now assigned all the different materials, sub-materials that we created in the wall multi-sub-object material. So back in the presentation now, as a summary, so in today's demonstration, we created a multi-sub-object material using a base material and set the number of IDs required. We then created the sub-materials and linked each one of them to the material ID slots inside the parent multi-sub-object material. We also assigned the sub-materials to different polygons and faces of a single geometry. This was done using the sub-object level of the geometry by applying the edit mesh modifier. You can also use the edit poly modifier. Whatever you are comfortable with, it's just personal preference. And we also then modified the sub-materials inside of the multi-sub-object material. Like we copied the sub-material, added a new sub-material, and then exchanged IDs or swapped the two sub-materials inside of there. So as mentioned, I demonstrated a practice from one of the chapters of the 3ds Max 2014 Fundamentals Training Guide that is developed by ASCENT. And like all other training guides, this training guide has an AOTG branding, which is Autodesk official training guide. This training guide has a typical ASCENT layout where each section has the learning objectives at the beginning of each section, and this helps you to understand what you will be learning in that section. At the end of each chapter are the chapter review questions. They help you to quickly review and refresh what was learned in the preceding chapter. Also at the end of the training guide is the appendix, which contains the certification objectives. And these will help you to prepare for the Autodesk 3ds Max Certified exam. Also, we also provide the topic and the objectives for the certification with each section wherever it's applicable. And this is found throughout the training guide. So with this training guide also, we provide, we have the instructor tools that provides you with the answers for the chapter review questions, and also gives you suggested timing that is required to complete each chapter in the training guide. So these are the list of available titles in the visualization lineup that is offered by ASCENT. So we have the 3ds Max Design 2014 Fundamentals Training Guide, from where I pulled the practice and that I demonstrated for you today. Then also we have in the visualization lineup, we have the Navisworks 2014 Essentials Training Guide, and then the Autodesk Showcase 2014 Fundamentals Training Guide. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Corinne, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about those training guides.
Thanks, Renu. Yeah, so all of those guides that Renu just showed us are available in a pre-printed format, which we refer to as our student guide. We also have an electronic ebook format, and we also have instructor tools, which are perfect for those teaching the course. So you can purchase all of these materials on the ASCENT eStore, and you can see that's our first link there, ascentestore.com. Renu is one of our bloggers. We have an ASCENT blog, so if you go to our website, which is the bottom link there, ASCENTED or ASCENTED.com, you can follow her blog directly from the home page. You can also access a table of contents, download a sample chapter, and find out all the information you'd like about our books on the website.